Andrew Mountbatten Windsor is finally moving into Marsh Farm. But what is drawing the most attention is not the relocation itself. It is the long list of bold demands and habits that appear to be coming with him. According to reports, staff have been left dealing with very specific instructions, unusual requests, and a level of expectation that has not shifted, even as his circumstances clearly have. He has been staying at Wood Farm on the Sandringham estate since leaving Royal Lodge, waiting for Marsh Farm to be fully prepared. This was not a simple move. The property reportedly required a series of upgrades before he would agree to relocate, including the installation of a tall security fence, fresh landscaping, new carpets, and a Sky television dish. Only once those changes were completed did the move begin to take shape, and when it did, it was anything but low-key. On Tuesday, 3 large removal vans from Gander & White were seen arriving at Marsh Farm. That detail alone is telling. This is a company known for handling fine art and high-value items, with a royal warrant to match. They do not typically show up for everyday household moves. Their involvement immediately raised questions about what Andrew considered important enough to take with him. Royal Lodge, where he lived for roughly 2 decades, was filled with valuable pieces. Some of those works were part of the Royal Collection Trust, which manages historic art and artefacts belonging to the monarchy. According to previous reporting in the Times, those items were expected to be returned after Andrew was stripped of his titles. However, it now appears that a number of pieces have been transported to Marsh Farm instead. Among the artworks believed to have been displayed at Royal Lodge was a 19th century portrait of Eugénie, Empress of the French, painted by Charles-Édouard Boutibon. It is not confirmed whether that specific piece has been moved, but the presence of specialist art handlers suggests that significant items were part of this relocation. What makes this more striking is the scale of the property he is moving into. Marsh Farm has 5 bedrooms. Royal Lodge, by comparison, is a 30-room residence. According to an insider quoted in the Mail, Andrew was appalled by the size of the new home and reluctant to move at all. He allegedly spent months making demands for a better property. The source claimed he has not lived anywhere that small since his early days at Buckingham Palace and will not cope well. That tension seems to have carried over into the moving process itself. Packing up Royal Lodge was described as a major task, not just because of its size, but because of what had accumulated over the years. Andrew and Sarah Ferguson had lived there for around 20 years, and reports suggest there was a significant volume of possessions to deal with. In the weeks leading up to the move, it was even claimed that large numbers of unopened Amazon deliveries had piled up inside the house, adding another layer of complexity for staff. And then there are the more personal details, the ones that tend to stick in people's minds. His teddy bear collection is one of the most well-known examples. According to former staff member Charlotte Briggs, there were 72 bears in total, and they had to be arranged in a very precise order on his bed. She told The Sun that she was given a full day of training just to learn how to place them correctly, saying everything had to be exactly right. That routine, it seems, has not entirely disappeared. Most of the bears have reportedly been placed into storage at a guarded warehouse in South London, where many of his belongings are now being kept. But he is said to have kept one with him, a cuddly monkey, suggesting that even as he downsizes, some of these habits are continuing. Staffing is another area where friction appears to be building. Andrew is reportedly unhappy with the level of support available to him at Marsh Farm. King Charles is said to have offered access to a cleaner, groundsman and cook on an occasional basis, but according to insiders, that arrangement has not been well received. The expectation, it seems, has not adjusted to match the new reality. This lines up with what has been described in multiple accounts over the years. In Andrew Lowney's book, entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York, former staff describe a working environment where Andrew expected strict obedience and formality. One former equerry, Colin Burgess, recalled that Andrew would speak to staff as an officer talks to his subordinates, often issuing direct instructions such as, "I want this done and I want it done now." There are also claims that he expected continued use of royal titles within his household, even after officially losing them. According to a report from Rob Shooter, a source said that inside Royal Lodge, nothing has changed, with staff still addressing him as Your Royal Highness and continuing to bow or curtsy. The exact accuracy of that is difficult to confirm, but similar stories have surfaced repeatedly. Other reported incidents paint a similar picture. It has been alleged that staff were required to open curtains for him each morning, even when he was lying right beside them. Another claim suggests he once brought a television technician to his home late at night to explain how a remote control worked. These are small details, but they build a consistent image of very particular expectations. There are also more uncomfortable accounts. According to royal expert Tom Quinn, one member of staff was removed because Andrew objected to a mole on his face, while another was dismissed for wearing a nylon tie. In the book, Yes Ma'am, The Secret Life of Royal Servants, former employees described him as bossy and said he could behave like a classic school bully. These are allegations, but they have been repeated often enough to form part of the broader narrative around him. And just when you think the story is mostly about downsizing and staff tensions, another detail has resurfaced that adds a very different layer to what has been left behind at Royal Lodge. However, not everything has followed Andrew to Marsh Farm. As a result of his departure from Royal Lodge, many items linked to the Royal Collection Trust are believed to have remained within the Trust's control. A spokesperson declined to comment on specific pieces or their locations, stating that they do not confirm where items are kept when they are not on public display. So while some belongings have been carefully transported under specialist supervision, others appear to have been left behind, quietly returned to the wider royal collection. And that contrast really sums up this entire move. On one hand, you have the effort to maintain certain personal comforts and possessions. On the other, there are clear limits now being imposed, whether in terms of space, staffing, or access to royal assets. As Andrew settles into Marsh Farm, the question is whether those two realities can actually coexist. Can someone with such established habits adapt to a much smaller, more restricted environment? Or will these expectations continue to cause friction behind the scenes? Let me know what you think. Do you see this as a genuine turning point, or just the same patterns playing out in a different setting? And if you want more updates like this, make sure you subscribe so you do not miss what comes next.